Hi, good morning. I'm Chicken Johnny, and you're at the farm with Chicken Johnny. It's Thursday morning, June 11th, and that means it's time to take a garden tour. Now it's about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I expect I'll get this tour posted by about 11 o'clock tonight. Listen, if you've been watching our garden tours and you haven't subscribed on YouTube yet, please take just a few minutes and subscribe. It'll make sure that you get all the videos and you see everything that's going on. We're going to follow the 2020 garden season from planting to harvesting to processing to selling it at the market. Now we're behind. We're behind because of the rain. We had more rain last night. If you look over here, we've got some puddles going. But those puddles don't surprise me. They're where we kind of dug down so that you could handle some of that water. If you look out in the field, that used to all be flooded, and it is just as dry as can be. There's a little spot that's got some water, but I think my neighbor's done a really good job of getting the water out of the field. We're going to start the tour today. Now remember, hit subscribe, and then there's a little bell next to the subscribe. You can ring that. Also, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Say, hey, John, good job. I need the encouragement. We're going to start here. These are Blue Lake pole beans, and you know they're slowly coming along. We got a notification in the mail or in the email just the other day telling us that our trellising fences are again not available. So have to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with that, try to order them from somewhere else. Here's our zucchini. This did not have grass in it 2 days ago. This all came up because of the rain. Very disappointing, but that's all right. These are those onions that we dug up and replanted. They've gone to seed. I'm going to abandon the patch and try to do something else with them later. These are the shallots. They're doing wonderfully. We got to get the grasses out, and there's some other weeds coming in here, so these will be hoed as soon as it gets dry. These with shard, and that's coming along nicely. The row is full. There is some grass. We'll get that out. This is kale coming in here, and we're looking pretty good on the kale. These are beets. That is in amongst all of this grass. That's the biggest problem with beets is competing with the grass. These are Detroit red beets, and these are more Detroit red beets. Everything I've showed you so far was planted by seed. Now, we did some transplants, so that's what we're going to look at now. And we had a lot of rain, heavy rain for the last 2 days. And so some of our transplants, if you look down the rows, you can see them, but they're laying down. That's all right. They'll pick up as soon as the sun comes out a little bit and they get dried out. This is cabbage here. And then it looks like we did lose a couple in here. We'll have to come in and replant a few. One of the things that I like to do, I like to keep extras in the greenhouse so that when the deer kind of tromp through there early, I can replant those. You see the sun is just starting to come up back there. Again, these are Chinese cabbages and broccolis. You notice the Chinese cabbages have bolted. That's pretty common. They won't be much good, but there's a Chinese cabbage that hasn't bolted. There's broccoli and cabbage in there too. And this is kohlrabies mixed with some Chinese cabbages and some other cabbage. And then there's a lot of kohlrabi in this row here. Now, last week I said, come and see if we get the grass out of the sweet potatoes. Well, you'll notice this field here, if you flip back to last week's, most of the grass we've gotten out. There's a little ridge of grass here that we didn't get. That'll be easy enough to till out. This one here, you'll notice, I would say we got 60 to 70% of the grass out of that. And this one here, the grass you're seeing here probably has come back. But we're winning the battle with the grass on the sweet potatoes. I've got a video coming up. We've got to edit it together. This is the time of year when it's kind of difficult to edit things, take the time to edit things together. But we've got a video that coming up that will show you the tool that we use to get the weeds out of the sweet potatoes. And we're also going to use it on all of our transplants, because all of that's going to get weeds and we need to stay on top of them. So we've got a special tool this year to help us win that battle. Now we're getting into the potatoes. And the grass is pretty thick in the potatoes. There's something else terrible going on in the potatoes, and it's right here. It's all of these little potato bugs. And we've got to get in. Again, I went through these last week, but we've got to do it again. So I want to focus on potato bugs for just a second. Potato bugs are something you can't ignore. You've got to take care of them. You'll fight them every single year if you don't take care of them right away. Get on it. There's three things, I think, that have to be done. Number one, you have to go through and squish all of the adults, all of the little ones. But then you need to come through. Here's an adult. Let's see. That's an adult potato bug. Now, the best thing you can do with an adult potato bug, don't drop it on the ground. That's what it wants. The best thing you can do is squish it. And that's the same thing with the little ones. But then when you see an adult, you want to look under the leaves. There's another one that fell off. Squish him. I don't know, you might have heard that one squish. But then you want to look underneath these leaves. And what you're looking for is a bunch of little yellow eggs. So we'll come over to this next one. We'll look underneath here. If you have adults, you have eggs. And you have to find these eggs and you have to eliminate them. Unless you're going to use heavy chemicals in your garden, you have to squish the potato bugs. They will not only get your potatoes, but they'll attack any nightshades. So you got to take care of them. You got to take care of them often. You can go through this whole garden, and a few days later, they'll be back because they have a cycle. If you get the eggs, if you get the pupae, if you get the adults, then you can win the battle. The pupae are the really soft-shelled, ugly-looking ones. They're sort of the teenagers. And like all teenagers, they eat, and they eat a lot. They will devastate entire potato plants in days, maybe less than days, depending upon how many there are. I also wanted to point out to you, we've got some milkweed growing here. This is milkweed. In my opinion, milkweed is one of those weeds that, although it does steal nutrient from the plants and it does kind of get in the way of having clean plants, clean garden rows, I let it grow if it's where I can let it grow. the butterflies eat it, and it helps them on their migration across the country. And so I try to leave as much of the milkweed as I can. Now, actually in the garden, it's tough to leave it, so I end up leaving it grow in other areas. But that particular spot that we were just in, I had about a 12 by 12 patch of milkweed that I let grow for a number of years. So these are the russets over here, and they're coming in pretty healthy. I'm not seeing any seeds under here. Haven't seen any potato bugs in these. A big part of that is the third thing that you want to do, and that is you want to keep the fields cleaned out. I talk about keeping the grass out. I talk about keeping the weeds out. You'll notice that now we're starting to get, this is giant ragweed. I don't care for giant ragweed, but you'll notice that these rows here that have come in pretty thick, we do have grass in here, and we do have some other weeds, that ragweed for example, but we've tried our best. Let's see if I can give you a shot of the sunrise there. We've tried our best to keep the weeds out of the potatoes and keep the grasses out. It's an ongoing battle that you don't really win. You just try to stay a step ahead, or if not a step ahead, a step behind. If I were full-time in the garden, I could probably get ahead on it. But I've got to work to make a living, and the garden is just really more of a hobby than anything else at this point. This year, I put a little extra effort into my onions, and it's paid off. Now, we've got amaranth coming into the garden. That has to get out because that will keep my onions from bulbing. But it's along the sides and in the lanes between the onions. I really think the onions are looking good. I got to get, you know, a little bit more done on them. I probably won't get much of the weeds out because it's just a matter of how much time you have and how much help you have. And Peanut's been helping us a lot. Mother Goose and I spend days out here tending the garden, and we enjoy it. I hope you enjoy the garden. I hope you enjoyed seeing the garden. I'm going to put some bonus footage on at the end of this video, like showing you some things in the greenhouse and showing you the tastes like snozberries. There's one right there, all ripe and calling my name. And there's one over there. And so these will come in a little bit thicker. We've got another one over there. Hopefully they'll do well in the raised beds. Those are the tomatoes, and we've got kind of a row and a half. We'll be filling this row in because we've got more, but they have grown since last week. And again, our trusseling fence hasn't come, so that's a problem that we're going to have to deal with. Here's another problem. I have something in the garden, and I can't quite make it out, but something has passed through here since the rains. At first I thought it was a deer print. It's not clear enough to really tell. Here's the asparagus, and we've got ragweed growing in with the asparagus, but there's an asparagus fern. And in the first years of gardening asparagus, you're going to have the ferns and so forth. This is that Palmer amaranth that comes in. We get it real heavy in this field. This was gone before the rain, and when the rain came, that stuff came right back in. And then we've got more tomatoes there. Those are looking a little sadder because of the rain, but they'll do fine. Sun's going to come out, dry them out. They'll start reaching for the heavens. We're going to have to get them strapped up. Now I can see what we got. We have a dog. I don't think those are coyote tracks. I think those are dog tracks. We don't have a dog. So I don't know who's coming in here, but I don't think a dog's going to do too much damage. It doesn't look like they have. Even a coyote. Too big for fox. So, all right. These are dill, and these were completely clean. There was no amaranth in there before, and we've got amaranth and lamb's quarter coming up in here. So we've got a lot of variety going on, and that's what creates difficulty in getting all the weeds out. There you've got gladiolas. So, well, that's the garden. Just a little word about weeds. You notice that I talk about them a lot. I'm fighting them a lot. They're frustrating to me. I think anybody who has any size of a garden has to eventually realize that the weeds are going to be there. And so you work hard to get them out. Don't misunderstand me. We're working every week. We're working to get the weeds out of the garden and to keep the weeds out of the garden. But you have to have the right mental state about weeds. First, you have to realize that weeds are a competitor. So compete with them. Don't let them win. But the other thing you have to realize is that the garden is not your competitor. The garden is your hobby. And you can compete with the weeds to build a garden and see them as part of the challenge. Don't see them as a roadblock or a stumbling block. But also, early in the year, as you're getting your garden planted, think about the fact that the little weeds are easy to destroy. Every time I hoe up some little cotyledons from amaranth or ragweed or little grass seed, I'm saying to myself, in 30 seconds, I'm doing what will take me several hours if I wait until mid-June or July. This year, even though you see a lot of weeds in the garden, this year we've been keeping up pretty well with those weeds. And so I'm not real concerned about being overtaken by them. I think we've got a chance to have a great harvest. We'll have a lot of stuff to market, and you'll know that we're not killing the weeds with chemicals. It's too expensive anyway, but we're killing them with our hard work and our effort. Well, Emitzer Shem, I'll see you again. I'm Chicken Johnny. Eat your vegetables. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll post a link for one of the previous garden tours so that if you haven't seen them, you can link back to those and see quick those garden greenhouse tours. We've got some replacement tomatoes there. Those are some cayenne peppers. The rest of the flat didn't do so well, but we've got 3 of them there. Some dill. There's some more replacement beefsteak tomatoes if we need them. Here's a whole big tray of peppers, and there's some cabbage that has to go in, or that's actually broccoli. And there's some Romano tomatoes, and that is the onion that I planted by seed just as a trial. We'll probably transplant those pretty soon, see how they do. I'm excited about that. It may change how we do onions. There's some cucumbers and some peppers, some more cucumbers, a couple more cucumbers back there, some peppers up front. These are sweet peppers. These are more tomatoes. These have been in the greenhouse a little bit too long. They need to get some fertilizer on them. They're being a little overwatered in the greenhouse. Here's some peppers, a bunch of different peppers. You got more peppers, some jalapenos, and some poblanos. Now, by this time of year, I'd really like to have all the peppers out of the greenhouse and have them into the garden. And the plan is to try to plant these this weekend. But we'll see how that goes. The weather's got to dry out. It's Thursday. Hopefully we'll have no rain for the next 2 or 3 days. We'll be able to get them in. And here are the carrots. Well, that's it for the garden tour. Have a great day. The sun is coming high in the sky now, so hit subscribe, hit like, leave a comment. Thumbs up. Thanks, I'm Chicken Johnny.